Switching from Windows to Linux can be one of the best decisions you ever make. But choosing the wrong Linux distro? That's a recipe for frustration. In this video, I'm creating a tier list of Linux distros, ranked by how seamlessly they help Windows users make the leap into the Linux world. So it's one for you if you are contemplating making the switch. I have included timestamps, so you may skip around. However, I recommend you watch this video in its entirety, as I do not just list the distros, but explain their merits and downsides. And for seasoned Linux users out there, jump into the comments. Share your own tier list or advice for newcomers. All right, no time to waste. Let's get started. We start off with Ubuntu, and it is an interesting one as it is one of the more common Linux distros. It is a dependable companion in the Linux transition. What stands out the most is its massive community support network ready to solve any problem. This is important because the big scare in transitioning is getting stuck. The software repository is in some ways like a Windows store. You get snap packages to ensure you can install almost any application with a single click. On Ubuntu, there's probably a Linux alternative waiting for you, often with better performance. Ubuntu's release cycle is your stability guarantee. Long-term support versions give you 5 years of consistent, reliable computing. No forced upgrades or unexpected system changes that Windows users dread. If you are switching from Windows to Ubuntu, Windows Subsystem for Linux integration is your safety net. So, if you want to explore Linux without fully committing, Ubuntu makes that transition seamless, letting you dip your toes into the Linux world without leaving the comfort of Windows. For professionals and hobbyists, third-party software support on Ubuntu is unmatched. Development tools like Docker and VS Code aren't just available. They're often optimized for Ubuntu first. I was tempted to put this on an S tier, but it is more fitting in the A tier. Snap packages can be slower, and the GNOME desktop, while polished, isn't as immediately intuitive as some competitors. But these are minor trade-offs in an otherwise rock-solid Linux experience. Moving on, we have Elementary OS. Many people will argue that Elementary OS is S-tier if you are making the switch from macOS to Linux. But I still feel it is a decent pick for someone making a switch from Windows. Even though it imitates the macOS interface, it is not one of the hardcore Linux distros that will throw anyone who regularly uses a computer off balance. Its Pantheon desktop environment is optimized for performance and provides a smooth and efficient user experience on a wide range of hardware. The system is lightweight, with custom optimizations to ensure it runs efficiently even on lower-end machines. So regardless of the PC or laptop you are transitioning from, you will get a very decent performance. It has the App Center, that is a curated app store that only features trusted, high-quality applications. This ensures you are installing secure and reliable software without the overwhelming choices often found in other stores. Someone used to the Windows Store will easily get used to it. Sadly, it is not as customizable as some other distros, and that will be the reason I will drop it in the B tier. But it does really come close to the A tier. Before we go on, remember to drop your comments. Let me know what your ultimate Linux distro for someone switching from Windows will be. I'm sure a lot of Windows readers will love to know. Now let us move to Pop! OS. This definitely belongs in the S-tier Linux distro for your Windows transition. First, its NVIDIA graphics support solves the nightmare someone on Windows has faced with graphics drivers. Where you once hunted down complicated installation packages, Pop! OS offers a dedicated ISO with NVIDIA drivers pre-installed. No more driver compatibility stress, just install and game on. The tiling window management in GNOME will change how you multitask. You can organize your apps into perfect grids with shortcuts, making your workflow more efficient than anything you experienced in Windows. It's like Snap Assist, but I honestly believe it is better. System 76 custom kernel optimizations mean your system stays lightning fast. Do you remember how Windows would gradually slow down? Well, Pop! OS maintains responsiveness, making your computing experience feel consistently smooth. If you're a laptop user, automatic graphics switching will feel like magic. This is an intelligent power management that just works, without you needing to dive into settings like you are used to on Windows. Full disk encryption by default protects your personal data with enterprise-level security. No more complicated setup processes, as security is baked right in. Its integrated firmware and driver updates eliminate the update chaos anyone on Windows is used to. Instead of jumping between manufacturer websites, everything updates seamlessly through one system. Pop! OS earns its S-tier status by offering an experience designed for real-world users. From gamers to professionals, it gives you tools to be productive and creative without the usual Linux hurdles. It's a seamless introduction to Linux that also grows with you as you gain confidence. Fedora is an interesting one because just like Ubuntu, it is one of the more known Linux distros, especially for people who are not embedded in the Linux ecosystem. This makes it an easy one to be considered. But does it really give you the best transition from Windows to Linux? Well, this distro has cutting-edge focus and minimal hand-holding, which can make it challenging transitioning from Windows. Fedora is known for its fast update cycle and adoption of the latest open-source technologies. It's often the first to introduce new features that later make their way into other Linux distributions. While this approach is great for developers and enthusiasts, it can be daunting for beginners, as frequent updates sometimes introduce bugs or compatibility issues. One standout feature is Fedora's security-enhanced Linux integration, providing advanced security by enforcing strict access controls. This is excellent for professionals concerned with security, but unnecessary complexity for casual Windows users. Its lack of proprietary software out of the box is a significant hurdle for new users. Drivers for NVIDIA GPUs, multimedia codecs, and other proprietary components are often installed manually, a process that isn't intuitive for beginners. This contrasts with distros like Linux Mint, which prioritize out-of-the-box functionality. Its close collaboration with upstream projects ensures Fedora is always in sync with the latest advancements in Linux. However, this also means Fedora often feels more like a testing ground for new features rather than a polished, beginner-friendly OS. While Fedora shines in developer tools, offering easy access to tools like Docker, Podman, and programming libraries, its benefits primarily target developers and advanced users. Support for multiple desktop environments adds flexibility, but can be confusing for users accustomed to a more unified Windows experience. Fedora's focus on cutting-edge hardware support and feature testing is commendable but not practical for users who just want a stable system that works seamlessly. Its rolling updates, lack of proprietary software, and focus on open-source technologies often require manual interventions that can overwhelm a new Linux user. While Fedora is polished and secure, these very strengths make it stubbornly complex for someone transitioning from Windows, and it takes a spot in the C tier as a slightly stubborn option. We have Manjaro XFCE, and it offers an approachable gateway into Arch Linux's powerful ecosystem without its notorious complexity. The distribution simplifies Arch Linux through a graphical installer that eliminates the traditional manual setup, providing Windows users a straightforward Linux entry point. Its XFCE desktop environment delivers exceptional lightweight performance, running smoothly on hardware that would struggle with resource-intensive Windows configurations. Manjaro's rolling release model ensures constant access to the latest software updates without system reinstallation, a significant advantage over Windows' rigid update cycles. However, this approach can introduce occasional system instability, requiring users to develop basic troubleshooting skills. Automatic hardware detection and multiple kernel version support allow unprecedented system optimization. Users can seamlessly select kernels matching their specific hardware configurations, a flexibility Windows rarely offers. The Arch User Repository (AUR) provides an extensive software ecosystem, but its uncurated nature demands careful navigation. Inexperienced users must exercise caution to avoid potential system complications. While not as polished as A-tier distributions, Manjaro XFCE bridges beginner-friendliness and advanced Linux capabilities, offering Windows migrants a robust, flexible introduction to open-source computing. It earns itself a place in the B tier as a solid starter. Now, let us move to Arch Linux. In fact, I will do Arch Linux, Gentoo Linux, and Slackware together, as these three belong in the same category. These are all very powerful Linux distros, but probably the worst for someone coming from Windows. Arch Linux is endlessly customizable, but the installation process alone will send most new users running. Everything from partitioning your drive to setting up your desktop is done manually, with no graphical installer to hold your hand. It's a fantastic learning experience, but only if you're ready to dedicate hours to building your system from scratch. Next, we have Gentoo Linux, which takes customization to the next level by requiring you to compile your entire system from source code. That's right, you're not just installing software, you're choosing compilation flags for your hardware. It's a playground for power users, but for Windows users looking to dip their toes into Linux, it's more like diving into the deep end of a technical ocean. Finally, there's Slackware Linux, a distro that hasn't changed much since the early days of Linux. It skips modern conveniences like dependency resolution and graphical tools, leaving you to manually configure your system and edit configuration files. For a beginner, it's an overwhelming and tedious experience. Simply skip these three if you do not want a transitioning nightmare. They all belong in the D tier. MX Linux seems to have a focus on advanced tools and manual configuration, a bit like Fedora. This can overwhelm a Windows user new to Linux. However, one of MX Linux's greatest strengths is its lightweight nature. It is built on the rock-solid Debian stable base and delivers exceptional performance, especially on older hardware. If you use Windows on an old system, this becomes a huge consideration as you get a fast and responsive desktop experience without requiring powerful specs. With tools like MX Tools, you get simplified tasks such as system maintenance, driver installation, and live USB creation. These tools are powerful and unique, but they also come with a learning curve. Many of the options assume a level of technical understanding that a typical Windows user might not have. MX Linux is also highly versatile, with its simple system maintenance tools enabling users to configure their systems in detail. While this flexibility is appealing, it can easily feel overwhelming to a newcomer unfamiliar with Linux file systems or package management. Another highlight is its live USB creation tool, which not only allows you to boot from a USB, but also to save changes persistently. This is an advanced feature rarely seen in other distros, but again, it's a tool that appeals more to experienced users than to beginners. MX Linux doesn't ship with as many pre-installed multimedia codecs or proprietary drivers as some beginner-focused distros like Linux Mint. This will create a barrier for new users who don't yet know how to install these essential components. Ultimately, it offers a lot for those willing to tinker and learn, but its reliance on manual tools and the advanced nature of its customization options make it less accessible for first-time Linux users. It earns a place in the C tier as a slightly stubborn option. Let's move to Zorin OS. This is one where I had deep confusion while ranking. Zorin OS deserves an A tier spot for its thoughtful design, specifically aimed at Windows users transitioning to Linux. The direct Windows interface mimicry is a standout. Zorin OS offers desktop layouts that closely resemble Windows, making it easy for new users to feel right at home. The Windows-like interface eliminates the steep learning curve many users face when switching to Linux. Zorin OS also excels in Windows application compatibility, with Wine pre-configured to run many Windows programs out of the box. This means you don't need to worry about compatibility issues when moving away from Windows. The specialized versions, designed for gamers, education, and lightweight systems, give users the flexibility to choose the version best suited to their needs. Whether you're gaming, studying, or using an older computer, Zorin has an option that fits. Its adaptive design is another plus. Zorin OS can automatically adjust its appearance to suit the user's preference, making the system feel more personalized and comfortable for different types of users. Simplified Windows migration tools streamline the switch, allowing for easier data transfer and system setup, which significantly reduces the hassle of transitioning. While Zorin OS could easily contend for S tier due to its Windows-friendly design, it doesn't quite make the cut. The performance, while solid, doesn't offer the same level of optimization seen in S-tier distros like Pop! OS. It also lacks the same level of deep customizations and package management flexibility, which some advanced users might miss. Still, Zorin OS is a perfect choice for new users looking for a seamless switch from Windows, with an intuitive interface, broad compatibility, and easy setup. If there was a middle point between S and the A tier, that would be more fitting. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one. I know a few people that believe it should be S tier. openSUSE offers powerful Linux capabilities with a professional-grade management approach that challenges beginner simplicity. A defining feature of openSUSE is yet another setup tool. It represents the most comprehensive system configuration toolkit in Linux, providing unparalleled centralized control over system settings. Its depth, however, can overwhelm users transitioning from Windows' simplified management interfaces. openSUSE offers two versions, Leap and Tumbleweed. Leap provides enterprise-grade stability, ideal for users who prioritize reliability, while Tumbleweed delivers the latest software updates, catering to those who prefer up-to-date packages. However, the choice between the two can confuse beginners unsure of their needs. For users requiring advanced features, openSUSE shines with robust virtualization support and advanced partitioning tools, making it an excellent choice for developers and power users. Its enterprise-grade stability ensures it performs reliably in production environments. While powerful, openSUSE's complexity positions it as a learning platform rather than a beginner's default choice. The system demands more technical engagement than user-friendly A-tier distributions, making it ideal for motivated Linux explorers. Ultimately, openSUSE bridges professional Linux environments and user exploration, offering a robust platform for those willing to invest time in mastering its sophisticated ecosystem. Nice, but maybe a touch overwhelming, and this earns it a spot in the B tier. Before I continue with the list, I love to hear the experience of Windows users who switched to Linux. What was your entry point, and what was your experience with it? Let us interact in the comments. Finally, we get to the last OS on our list, Linux Mint. It is hands down one of the best distros for beginners, and straight off, I will drop it in the S tier for good reason. First, the Cinnamon desktop environment. It's designed to feel instantly familiar to Windows users, with a layout that mirrors what you're used to. The learning curve? Practically non-existent. It doesn't feel like you are leaving Windows to learn Linux. Then there's out-of-the-box functionality. Mint comes with multimedia codecs pre-installed, so your music and videos work immediately. No hunting for codecs, no setup hassles. Add to that its driver manager, which simplifies proprietary driver installation for hardware like NVIDIA GPUs. You plug it in and let Mint handle the rest. Its software manager is another win. It's straightforward, curated, and reliable. No need to sift through unstable apps. Everything available has been tested and works as expected, which is critical for new users. Now, the update system is one you will love. Mint takes a stable and cautious approach, categorizing updates based on their impact. This means you won't run into unexpected system issues because of a poorly tested update. It's all about giving users confidence and control. Another huge plus is low system resource requirements. Mint can run smoothly on older hardware, which is perfect if you're reviving an older laptop or desktop. But this is especially good if you have a computer that does not reach specifications for Windows 11. Just go with Mint. Finally, Mint-specific tools like the Update Manager and Driver Manager are simple but effective, and they keep everything running smoothly without overwhelming the user. If you're a Windows user dipping your toes into Linux, Mint isn't just my recommendation. It's the blueprint for what a beginner-friendly distro should be. It's seamless, it's intuitive, and it just works. S tier all the way. That will be all for this video. Remember to support us by sharing this video, liking, and subscribing. If you have questions, drop them in the comments as I always look forward to interacting. See you in the next video.